Hi. One question that I've often got asked is in my career as an accountant and business advisor, um, is what hourly rate should I charge? So, and it's a really good question. And often people, if they are in that stage of being in a job and working for someone and say they're earning $35 an hour, they then sort of go, well, if I go and work for myself and I can charge myself out at $50 or $60 an hour, I'm going to be making a heap more money. Well, the reality is not normally that simple. So, so what I want to just go through here is just the sort of calculation and getting good at numbers is just how that calculation actually works and what you need to consider when setting your rate that you're going to charge out for your time. So one of the first things you want to do if you're thinking of being self-employed is look at what expenses do I have for in terms of being self-employed. And so often these are costs that will be covered by your employer if you're employed, and obviously stuff that they've got to cover. So, what are those costs that you can do? So, and I've just come out with here some fairly standard rates of these different expense types, and you can add some other ones in here as well. But first of all, you've got to go through, are you having to provide either, accommodation? So you need an office, or do you need a workshop, or something like that? So I've sort of said, on average, if it's a bit of an office, it might be $6,000. But if you go, okay, well, you can rent as part of a space of someone, so you got it a bit cheaper. You can just put a percentage in to change that amount to say that's $3,000. Marketing and advertising. So how much do you need to actually generate clients and get people to sort of come and join your business? So how much do you need to spend on that? So I've put here $6,000. If you're going to use more word of mouth, you've already got a good network and you can utilize that more on existing customers, that might be a bit less. But I'm just going to leave that there for now. I've just put in here a standard amount of insurance. I mean, so generally, if you're a professional service and you've got some sort of risk, you probably want to have some sort of professional indemnity insurance. And then you've got to look at if you've got assets you have to insure as well. That could be quite a bit more. So you could, but often even just a basic professional indemnity insurance is often around $1,000. So what that does, it covers you if you end up sort of making a mistake on a job, then it can often cover you for the liability that may come from doing that. So, but it's quite a specific area. You really need to look at that with an insurance agent in terms of what you want to be covered for and what insurance companies will provide and what that will cost. And then you've got accounting fees. So obviously said if you have to use an accountant for year-end accounts, you're probably at a minimum, you're going to be paying $1,500. There are some cheaper options out there. Got that there. You can work through that. Then you've got sort of computing expenses. So, what I've done here is I've sort of allowed for the cost of a computer over multiple years. So if you buy a computer and then you've got to use it, you get things. So I've estimated that, say, a standard rate is about $2,000 a year that you'll spend. And that might be like an average spend, say, over the course of 5 years. Which you might expect a computer to last. So that and the other bits and pieces you have to buy. It could be like a printer as well, and toners and printers and all that sort of stuff. And then normally you're going to need some sort of software to run your business. That could be some CRM software, accounting software, different business, depending on what your business is. Could be design software if you're a design business, something like that. So you put that in, and you can again go, okay, well, if it's low, or you're a low portion there, put it there. Vehicle expenses, again, depending on where you're doing. If you're mostly working from home and not too much, you can put that down to just a minimal trips around, a few trips around required to maybe to go to the bank or to go and see your accountant or other stuff that could be a lot less. So you can tweak that there, just give them the percentage. And you can do that if you're a high user. So if you're a trader, you might go, that might be 150% of that standard rate. So you might have a bit more cost. There's just a simple way to calculate up. And then you've got training, professional development. So if your role requires you to go and do some external training, what's that going to cost? So I'll just leave that in there. And then you've got also potentially you might have some trade and professional association fees. So I've said, if that's about $750, which might be about fairly standard for some professional fees or association fees. So you can tweak that up and down as well. And then I've just put $1,000 in for other allowance. So if you want to, you can add other costs in here and other amounts in there, but I'm just going to leave that for there and go, well, that's covered. So you can see that totals up to $24,500. So the next thing we're going to look at is we actually want to look at our time data. So we're going to go into here and we go, well, okay, if we've got 52 weeks available in the year. So how many weeks are we going to take off for holidays? So we're going to do 4 weeks. You can do that 5 or 6, whatever it is. An allowance for sick days, you might want to go a couple of weeks, which is the sort of standard in New Zealand for sort of, I suppose, if you're an employee, what you get is 2 weeks of sick leave, an allowance for training, and other time not available. So if you've got some other, time off you need for other things, you can put something in there. But that just adds up then weeks unavailable, so it gives you number of weeks available. Then you might put in here is what desired hours to work do you want to work per week to earn the income you want to work. So that could be, is that 50, or is it you go, I just want to work the standard week of 40. You can do that there, and then that calculates how many hours you have available in a year. And then down here, we just look at, what time are you going to need to spend on doing those non-chargeable activities? So you've got some basic administration, emails, planning it, a couple of hours there a week, marketing and social media, 3 hours for that a week. If you do that, sales, so this is, calling people, doing quotes, all that sort of follow-ups from when you've sent proposals or quotes to people and all that sort of thing, and whatever you need to do to close the sale. So you've got some work to do. Networking, you might be part of a networking group, so you might want to go and do that and look at that quite closely. And then a bit of time doing your bookkeeping and financial management, a couple of hours, maybe a week in terms of managing that. So paying bills, chasing up customers who haven't paid and that sort of thing. So when you go simple there, a few hours there, so that all comes out to 600 hours a year, which works out to be a third of, you can see there, 33%, a third of the hours you have available. So once you've done your expenses and your time calculations, then we can come down and we can combine those two sets of data, and we can come into a calculation. You can come here and enter in what's your desired income. So it's there. So we'll just change that. We'll say 80,000 is what we want to earn. You can then go, this calculates including taxes. We need to add that into as well. So this is assuming a 25% average tax rate. So in New Zealand, you've got different tax brackets, so you can work out a bit of an average there. So 25% is probably about right for an $80,000 net taxable income. So that adds up your desired income plus the expenses you need to cover, plus your taxes that you need to cover, gives you a total revenue to achieve your desired income. Okay, and then we bring in from the other sheet the hours available to be charged. So it was 1,200 hours available after we took off the 600 for non-chargeable activities. And then what I typically do is go, well, what percentage of those do you think you'll actually bill out for? So, is that you got to think about, some rework or some gaps between projects, waiting for supplies, maybe in terms of, to things. So I've just put in here 90%. So you could change that to be 80%. If you go, well, actually going to be really good, 95%. Or if you're sort of going to go, well, I'm going to go 100%. And if I do have some gaps, I'm just going to have to work some extra hours to make that up. So you can put that in there as well if you want to. But I'm just going to put it back to 90%. And then what that does is it takes off from that 1,200 hours available, the hours that you're likely to bill for. And then this then calculates. So to achieve $80,000 of take-home pay, effectively, and that's take-home pay, not taxable income. So it's after your taxes have been taken off, because we've added the taxes back on. So you want to think about, what is that take-home pay you want? How much is that, do you want to earn there in a week, have in your bank? So that works out that to achieve $80,000 of take-home pay, your charge out rate needs to be $121 an hour. So say if you can see there quickly with a bit of calculation, if you go from, say, your hourly rate in a job might be $40 an hour, that's showing that you've pretty much got to triple that rate to actually achieve the same level of income as a self-employed person. So a lot of it depends on, again, your individual expenses and your time. Now, if you want to reduce that, you go, well, I can't charge that. I've got to do that. There's a few ways you can tweak it. You can either go, okay, well, I'm just going to tweak my time there. You might go, well, we're going to leave that income the same. You might go back to your time data and you go, can you use a bit of AI and make some of this administration stuff a bit faster, doing that way? Or go, well, actually, I'm prepared to work 45 hours a week, including this stuff. I mean, what a lot of people do, they tend to do, quite often will do about 40 hours a week on the actual billable charge, and then the non-billable stuff gets done in the evenings and weekends and that sort of thing as well. So we've added that to 45. So we've gone from 121, so we've brought it down to $102 an hour. So, and what I'm not trying to do with this is tell you this is what you need to charge. It's just about being conscious about the maths around this and just going, what is it that you would need to charge per hour to achieve that level of take-home pay? So yeah, so I hope that's useful. If this is of interest and if you want to copy the spreadsheet, then please hit me up at paul@nextpulsecrm.com, which will leave the details down below. Thanks for watching.